What's up, everybody? It's another episode of Respect Her Game. I'm Laura Stickles. We've got Annabelle Hasselback joining me today, and we'll have two-time Paralympian Noelle Lambert joining us in just about 15 minutes. She was also a contestant on season 43 of Survivor, and she just has a really, honestly amazing story. So I'm excited for you guys to get to listen to that interview. We're going to talk about the Suns-Sparks game at TD Garden yesterday, but first, AB, it's been a minute. You've been all over. I've been watching your Instagram stories, trying to keep up with you through social media, but you've just been everywhere. Tell me all about how this camp with the Seattle Seahawks is going for you.
Yeah, well, good morning, Laura. I appreciate you jumping on at this time. We're 3 hours back, so.
I was going to say credit to you, actually, for being on this, because it's 7 a.m. in Seattle right now, so everybody give AB a round of applause.
No, I got my cold brew from Starbucks and had to go to Starbucks because obviously I'm in Seattle. I called my parents the other day, a little frantic, like, well, did you have your coffee? I was like, you know what? I actually left it on the top of my car and I drove away on accident. So
wait, did you really?
To have it, but I did. You know what? I did. But we're not, you know what? Today's a better day, so it's all good.
Oh my gosh!
But no, just I appreciate you jumping on with me today. It's been incredible. I have absolutely loved being out here. Time has completely flown by. I can't believe it's already like the middle of August. Yesterday was a little, you know how I came on here maybe a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, it doesn't rain in Seattle. It's so beautiful. I don't know if it was raining in Seattle yesterday.
Oh,
so
no,
I'm sorry.
It started.
The fall is coming and it has come fast, but it has just been such a fun training camp and just getting into preseason with the Seahawks here. I am learning so much, and we actually just got back from Nashville, Tennessee. We were there for a joint practice with the Tennessee Titans, which is a huge thing in the NFL this offseason. I think there were only 2 NFL teams. It was the Chiefs and the Raiders, who were the only teams that weren't doing joint practices. So huge thing in the NFL this offseason. But it gave me an excuse to go to Nashville, see some of my family. It was really fun.
What were the vibes like in the joint practice? Was there any, I don't know, sometimes those can get a little chippy. So what was it like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, that was a huge topic that has been a huge topic of discussion this whole summer with these joint practices, because like you said, it's going to get chippy. Emotions are high. People are fighting for their jobs. Like, quite literally, you could have a spot on the roster one day and not the next day, right? Like, this is professional sports. And I think it was the New York Giants and Detroit Lions actually each got fined $200,000 because of multiple fights that broke out. So going into our joint practice, obviously, that was a topic of discussion is, how do we keep emotions under control? And the Seahawks and the Titans did an amazing job. There were no real issues at all. So that was good. But yeah, no, that's definitely a topic of discussion. And I know there were some coaches that were saying, and this wasn't the verbatim what was being spoken here in Seattle, but hey, if you're a veteran and you fight, I know I'm playing. If you're a veteran fight, you're playing the whole preseason game, and if you're a rookie, you're not playing at all, which is a huge issue, right? Because if you're a rookie, you're trying to make this team, you're trying to make this squad, so you take all the reps that you can get. So we kept it under control in Nashville, but definitely got heated.
You're giving us the Seattle version of Hard Knocks. That's great. You're taking us behind the scenes. Something, honestly, AB, that I've just been really curious about for you. I mean, obviously, your dad spent so much of his career playing in Seattle, and I'm sure it's so special for him now to get to watch you working for the team that he spent so much time with. And even he played for Tennessee, too. So what was it like getting to be, one, working for the organization that he spent so much time playing for, but also, what's it like do you think from his perspective, getting to see you working there?
Yeah, thank you. That's such a sweet question. No, it has been just an absolute joy to be back here in Seattle. And I'll send my parents a selfie from my little cubicle occasionally. And I think for them, it's just wow, the number one, we feel old, right? The fact that now you have a job and just the gift to be back here in Seattle and to have been a Seahawks fan really my whole life and to grown up just absolutely adoring this organization and adoring the team. it is a really cool thing. And he was actually, so my parents live in Nashville right now, and my dad was at the Titans joint practice with the Seahawks. And he's coaching high school football, so he's wearing all his high school football gear for his team down there. And one of our players caught a touchdown in the end zone. Well, my dad is standing in the end, like right in the corner of the end zone, and I'm kind of on the other side of the field watching. Well, I can see he almost gets taken out from the legs under, like completely, because it was a diving catch. The player dove, and I'm over there like, oh my gosh, like not only could the player maybe got hurt, my dad probably would have broken his back.
He would have gone down.
So it was funny because I walked over there and I have my, credential and all the things. And I was like, sir, like I put my shades on, I lowered my hat. I'm like, sir, like, I think I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Like you can't be standing there. So that was just a funny moment.
What did he tell you? What did he tell you back? Did he give you a hard time?
He just laughed. I don't think he realized that it was me. I think he genuinely was like, oh no, I'm getting in trouble. But it is crazy I joke around with him like, oh, now I'm working for the Seahawks and you aren't, kind of thing. But it's just been the sweetest experience.
Does anybody in the organization give you a hard time? Are there any inside jokes going around?
Honestly, not too much.
Yeah.
We had for all of training camp, there was a theme every time that we'd have fans at practice, and there was a throwback day. So obviously I had to wear my jersey. It was a small jersey from when I was really little. So I'm shocked it still fit me. It was light pink. But that'd probably be the only time that we're really messing around about it. But no, it's been really cool. And I think just for me growing up a Seahawks fan, during the Tennessee game, I actually got to sit in on the radio booth, and Steve Rabel, he does the play-by-play for Seattle. He's been doing it forever. And growing up, I would just listen to him on the car, doing the pregame show, driving to the game. And I had a stuffed animal like football, I remember. And when we would throw it or it would hit the ground, it would be Steve Rabel's voice saying, touchdown, Seahawks.
Oh, that's
and
so
that
special.
was just kind of always engraved in my mind, but I had never seen him do it in person. Obviously, I'm listening on the radio or in the car. Mm-hmm. And to be in the same booth as him and to see him do what he's doing, his career, and to hear him say that, it was just this little moment, and I was kind of in the back, and I honestly got a little emotional. I was just like, wow, this is a really special opportunity, and just feel so thankful to be here.
No, that sounds like, honestly, I'm so happy for you that you're getting this opportunity. It sounds like it's where you're meant to be. And just hearing what you're saying about listening to that radio voice, like I love listening to football on radio. Like it's something that I just really enjoy. I mean, obviously I like watching it on TV too, but whenever I'm in the car during the fall and I get to have football playing on the radio, I feel like it's good for my imagination almost. Like the way that the play-by-play describes the plays and me getting to like envision it in my head, it's really cool. And so I'm so just glad that you're getting this opportunity. Before we shift gears in a second, one last question. What's an NFL storyline that we have to be looking out for this season?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think the most obvious one, and something that all fans, whether you know a lot about football or not a lot about football, is that the kickoff, there's new kickoff rules. So it's going to look really different in the sense that what you're used to seeing with the kickoff is that big spread wide, the entire football field. It's a full out sprint. You're trying to nail the returner. And now we have shifted basically everything up. So the ball is going to be kicked from the 35-yard line, and everyone else is basically going to be lined up on the 40. So the time that you have to run before you get to the returner is a lot shorter, basically, if I were to simplify it completely. And I think the exciting part about this is it's kind of unknown. They were doing it in the XFL a little bit, and that's why they brought it into the NFL now. But a lot of special teams coordinators are saying, hey, like we don't really know what to expect. And throughout preseason, no one wants to show all their cards, right? So what we've probably seen just in these first couple preseason games is probably not what we're going to see week one of the NFL season, but it's exciting. It just shows you, okay, who is going to come out, who's going to have the right ideas, who's going to play it the right way. So definitely be looking out for that.
I love that you brought up a special teams storyline because I love special teams chaos. I think it's so fun. I love special teams. It's one of my favorite parts about football. Okay, well, we're going to shift gears. Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just fun. I think it's sometimes like
Not a lot of people give special teams the love. So
No,
I bet you
I
some
love
people
it.
like that part.
I think it's like a kind of a forgotten piece sometimes. Like people don't give it enough credit, and it's so important. Like special teams can make or break a game, truly. Like the amount of impact a punter can have on a game, like it's incredible. So, anyways,
No, you're so right. And even in our first preseason game against the Chargers, our kickers had to make the tackle, like I think the very first kickoff. And that became a topic of discussion. I think our head coach got asked that, and Mike McDonald got asked that in press conference, and he said, yeah, we're just going to tell him, you got to get another extra lift in. Kind of as a joke, right? But when you're that last line of defense and everything's pushed up, like it's going to get real.
No, I love special teams. I'm glad we got to throw that in Respect Her Game because I honestly, I'm going to kind of call myself out a little bit. I even did like this analytics project in college on special teams. I can't exactly remember what the topic was.
Nerd
but
Nation, Stanford.
But I am obsessed. Anyways.
That's good. Hey, listen, I bet you got an A on that project.
Probably. I hope so. Okay. Well, time to talk a little bit of WNBA. And so obviously Sun Sparks played at TD Garden last night. Yesterday was a pretty crazy day for me. And my lovely producer, Carolyn, got me a ticket to the Sun Sparks game with the Nesson Suite to sit in the Nesson Suite. And it was kind of, yeah, exactly. Yes, no, it was awesome.
I should have flown back from Seattle.
I wish you were there. But anyway, so it was kind of a crazy day for me. And the game had already started. I think it was like the game started at 7. It was like 7:30. I'm like, oh man, like I'm just driving back into Boston. I'm like, do I really want to go to this game? Like it's going to be late by the time I get there. I'm only going to be there for the second half. I walk in after halftime and so like you walk into the suite, right? And first you're kind of in that area where there's like the food and everything. And then you walk out and you see the actual court and all of the fans. And I think I actually told Carolyn, like, oh my gosh, like I was blown away truly by the number of people there. It was sold out and I knew it was sold out coming into it, but sometimes like a stadium can be sold out and it doesn't always feel sold out. This felt sold out. Like there were so many people there, so many young girls with their dads, girls with their moms. It was like amazing, really. And just everybody was so engaged in the game as well. The Suns won, but it was honestly just, I think it was more than just the score at the end of the day, just seeing how Boston rallied around this game. Over 19,000 tickets were sold, and it was just so special. It was a special moment. I wish you could have been there, AB, but yeah, it was so cool.
I'm so happy that you got to go to the game, because I remember we were both talking. We're like, man, like I'm not even in Boston. I didn't think you were going. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, and it was
so awesome. Well,
oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just saying, like you said, sold out, but to feel the atmosphere of that crowd, like that's probably what made it so special, right? And I remember seeing a lot of footage from the crowd and just the amount of young kids. Like, are you kidding me? It's so awesome. Some of my best memories growing up from here in Seattle is when my dad would take my sister and I to Seattle Storm games. We had fat heads in our room of Sue Bird, right? And so just to have that ability to go watch a pro team, to go watch, especially if you're a young girl, to go watch pro women's sports, it's huge because they're not everywhere, right? So just so cool.
No, it was amazing. And the Suns usually play in Mohegan Sun Arena, which seats at about right around 10,000 or so. So this was like double of what they normally get. And Dejanay Carrington, who plays for the Suns, when she showed up this morning, or the morning of the game at TD Garden, she told the media, she's like, oh, I thought like the upper bowl was going to be covered. Like I thought it was just going to be lower bowl seating. And she realized when she got there that the entire TD Garden was sold out. And she, it's honestly just, I think, so special for the players, especially who've been playing in Connecticut, where the arenas aren't quite as large as they are, I think, for some other WNBA organizations. Just to get to have all of those fans there and get to have that experience, I'm sure was so special. And there was even a New England native there as well that got to play. I think you actually had some notes on this, that got to play in front of her family for the first time in Boston.
Yeah, Veronica Burton, so special and so cool. I am good friends with her sister, Kayla Burton, who's on NBC Boston. And Kayla actually got to interview Veronica post-game. And just to see that was like, dang, I can't imagine what this is like for their family right now. Kayla just took a new job in Boston, and now for Veronica to play in TD Garden, a stadium where, she's grown up watching and cheering her favorite players on, just super full circle. And I think that's what's so cool about this whole thing, is that you can now see you can be a young female basketball player and maybe someday get to play in TD Garden, where you probably watch the Celtics play, the Bruins, you probably went to concerts, and then you can actually think to yourself, hey, maybe one day this could be me.
Hopefully also it's the first of many games in Boston for the WNBA. I mean, I think like with the Connecticut Suns, they are in New England, but it doesn't, at least for me personally, in the past, it hasn't really felt like a New England team just because it is in Connecticut. We don't get to see them play a lot. But, I mean, I hope they get to play more in Boston because there isn't another WNBA team in New England. And it would be so cool to have more of, like, that New England feel to it, right? To feel like this is New England's team. It's not just Connecticut's team. So hopefully we get a little bit of that too.
Definitely. And I think the women are also super on board with that. They know, and this is a huge part of what they talked about leading up to this game. They know how big of a market and sports market Boston is. And they're like, yeah, let's go. Like what probably people would think is, oh, well, you're in Connecticut. That's your team. Like, that's your branding. That's what you want to, like, have pride in. But they're being really unselfish in the sense of just, hey, like, what we take us to Boston. Let's go. We might be in Connecticut, but, like, we understand that we want to grow this game and we want to reach as many people and a new audience as we can. So I just thought that was awesome. The praise that they were giving Boston as a city and as a sports market, it was fun to see.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, it is time now to welcome on our very special guest today, Noelle Lambert, the two-time Paralympian. She's headed to Paris. I think she's actually in Paris right now. Also, like I said at the beginning of the episode, a contestant on Survivor and just an all-around really cool person. And I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation with her as much as I did. We are so excited to welcome Noelle Lambert on to Respect Her Game today. Noelle is a two-time Paralympian, a New England native. You're from Manchester, New Hampshire, and you also played Division I lacrosse at UMass Lowell, and you were a contestant on season 43 of Survivor. So there's so much that we could talk about here today. But the number one thing that I'm most interested in is, when did you kind of get your sights set on the Paralympics? Because I read somewhere that in college you didn't even like running, and in Tokyo you competed in the 100-meter dash.
Yeah, so I mean, when I lost my leg, I was very fortunate enough to have a lot of support from Boston Marathon survivors, different amputees, and that's when I started learning about the Paralympics and maybe that this is something I could do. Obviously, I wanted to focus on lacrosse and finish up my college career, but when I graduated, I didn't want to hang up my athletic career just yet. And someone from the U.S. Paralympic track and field world reached out to me, asked me if I've ever thought about running. And yes, that is a true fact about me. I hated running. I hated run tests, everything to do with it. But I thought this would be an incredible opportunity to represent my country and to see if this is something I could make a career out of.
How did you find that passion for running after really not liking it for so many years?
I think I just misunderstood it, growing up. I think just the mental and physical aspect of the entire thing was something that I really enjoyed. And there were so many things that I could take out of lacrosse and put it into track and field just mentally. But the thing that I had to adjust the most with was having it be an individual sport. Growing up, I was always part of a team sport. So having all the pressure be on me was something that I had to learn. It was a really uncomfortable feeling. But I think just realizing that I'm not running for, 2 hours my entire practice. I'm doing one stride and then kind of getting my breath and then doing another one so that I can do the best that I can. I think it made it okay. I'm not a long distance runner still. I can only do about 100 meters and that's it.
I love that you bring up the fact that it's really different playing an individual sport versus a team sport. Both my co-host Annabelle and I were athletes in college, and we both played on team sports. And the motivation that you get from your teammates is really unlike any other. So how did you find that self-motivation to go after this?
Yeah, I mean, playing lacrosse, Division I lacrosse, I had my teammates and coaches behind me every step of the way, and just kind of building that community just really made me believe in myself when I was having my toughest days where I wanted to quit. I credit everything I'm doing now to them because I went through my hardest times with them. So now when I'm having a tough day at practice and I'm by myself, I can just think back to, I'm doing it for all the people that believe in me, the people that don't believe in themselves, so that I can sort of pave a way. But yeah, I have to credit them because in the beginning, the first, couple months, I was struggling. I was falling every single day in practice. I couldn't catch a ball with my stick. And they were just the ones that, never let me use my amputation as an excuse or a reason to give up.
Teammates are truly the best, and they will support you for the rest of your life, which is something that I'm always so grateful for. What was the training process? What was that training process like for you when you did set your sights on this 100-meter dash for the Paralympics? What is the process like to become? I mean, you literally broke the American record in the 100 meters. Let's just make sure everybody knows that, first of all. So what's that process like to become world class at that event?
Yeah, I mean, it's just showing up every single day and trying to be better than you were yesterday. This year, I actually moved out to California for training because on top of the 100-meter, I'm also doing the long jump. And I needed a long jump coach. I needed to learn how to do it because we jump off our prosthetic blades. But I think just going into every single practice, just willing to learn, willing to be coachable is a huge part about it. And, running technique is something that I never learned because I grew up with a lacrosse stick in my hand. I never really understood what running form was until I showed up at my first practice with my coach in Boston. And he humbled me very quickly because he just told me that I do not look like an athlete and what am I doing with my arm. So these past 5 years, I've just been trying to perfect that every way I can, and there's still things that I'm trying to get better at in every single day. And people might think, you're just running in a straight line. Like, how hard could it be? There are so many different things. Your technique with your just form, staying relaxed, relaxing your face, making sure that you're striking the ground at a certain angle and not overstretching your stride. And these are all the things that I'm learning this year. So it's been an incredible process, but also a tiring one. But I just know that my hard work will pay off in the end.
What was the moment that you realized that you could be competitive on an international level?
It was honestly my first ever international competition. It was in 2019 at the World Championships in Dubai. I honestly just showed up just excited to represent the United States, excited to have a Team USA uniform. And when I crossed the finish line, I placed fourth in the world and I broke the American record. I didn't even know what the American record was before that point. It wasn't something that I was working towards. I was honestly just trying to show up and do as best as I can. And that's really when I thought to myself, okay, maybe this is something that I can continue to do and get better at because this is, my first international competition. It was probably like my fourth time competing ever. And so that was really the moment where I said, all right, now we can have our sights set on the Paralympic Games and hopefully bring home a medal.
So you went to Tokyo, which I'm sure was an incredible experience, but also kind of strange because there were no fans there. It was just kind of a weird time. But something that I love that you mentioned also about 2019 was you got to wear USA for the first time. So what was that experience like in Tokyo, kind of being there at such a weird time, but also getting this opportunity to represent your country and wear one of those, like, truly, they're sweet. Like the USA track unis, they're sweet. So what was that experience like for you?
It was incredible. Obviously, like you said, with COVID and not having our family members there, it was kind of like an asterisk because, there were so many things that we were missing out on. But I think showing up and getting all that Team USA gear from Nike and Ralph Lauren, and it really just puts things, it makes it real for you because you're on the biggest stage of your life. So I just told myself to go out there. Luckily, the seat colors were all different in Tokyo, so it kind of looked like it was a packed stadium. And I just told myself, you have this incredible uniform. You have, the United States across your chest. Just go out and make your country proud, and make your family proud, and just have fun with it. Tokyo was probably the sixth or seventh time I competed ever. So I knew going into it that it was going to be very challenging to come home with a medal because all my other competitors have been doing a lot longer than I have. And, placing 6th in the world in Tokyo and breaking my own American record was extremely special. And I'm very proud of myself. But I told myself coming home that when Paris 2024 comes around, I want to be fighting for a medal. I want to be in medal contention and be a different breed of an athlete.
All right, before we move on here, I got to ask you about the gear because I'm obsessed with gear, and you said you got like some sweet stuff in your bag. So what was the coolest piece that you got in Tokyo? And what's something that you're maybe hoping to get actually in Paris?
Yeah, I mean, I think the coolest part in Tokyo was it was the first time that Skims by Kim Kardashian had ever been a part of the games. So we got like a Skims collection, and I was so excited for it. But when I came home, my fiance actually stole my bathrobe, so that's his bathrobe. It's not mine. But I also have to give a shout out to Ralph Lauren, the opening ceremony jackets. I still wear that, for speaking engagements and things like that. Going into Paris, I mean, it's incredible because we get to kind of watch all the Olympians go first, and we get to see what's going to be in our kits. I think the most excited thing is, just all the Nike gear, obviously, because it's really cool, and having the Team USA all over your chest, that's all you wear. But again, the Skims is really cool. We get a Samsung phone. But I'm hearing these chocolate muffins are like to die for in the Olympic Village, Paralympic Village. So I guess that might be the thing I'm most excited for when I'm done competing. I have to go and get a chocolate muffin.
I've seen the TikToks of the chocolate muffins. If you get some, bring some back. I want to try some. Also, I see the USA nails that you have going on. They look awesome.
I just got them done actually this morning. So yeah, shout out to Renee at Iridessa for hooking me up.
No, those look great. And something that you mentioned earlier is that you've picked up the long jump, and you're going to be competing in that event as well in Paris. And it's an event that you actually really have a good shot at medaling in. So I'm curious, how did you realize that you had the potential to be really good at the long jump? And what was the training process like to become world class at it?
Yeah, I have my coach in California. He was reaching out to me. He's an incredible Paralympic coach. Trains all these different athletes. Also trains a few Olympians as well. So he was telling me because he knew how fast I was in the 100. He was like, if you can bring that speed into long jump, I can get you jumping over 5 meters easily. And jumping over 5 meters in my classification group, before me, there's only been 3 other above knee amputees to ever do it. So going in, I told him, I don't want to do this unless I can jump 5 meters because I want to create a name for myself. So starting in January of this year and moving out to California, my first long jump practice ever, it was definitely a humbling experience and definitely a learning curve because I have to jump off my prosthetic blade and I have to put all of my I just have to believe in something that's not really mine. But I just kept showing up to practice, willing to learn, willing to be coachable. My third long jump competition ever, I believe, is when I officially broke the American record. I jumped 4.33 meters. And that was incredible, but I was looking towards the 5 meter mark. That was really what I had my eyesight on, my sight on. And in May of this year is when I finally jumped over 5 meters for the first time. And that's really when I started believing in myself, thinking, okay, I think I can potentially come home with a medal. And I'm just continuing to learn every single day. There's so many things that go into long jump that I'm working on. It's just like the 100 meter. So I think it's great that I've been able to kind of be, a dual event athlete because I can kind of focus on one thing at a time and not overthink on one event.
That moment in May when you finally hit 5 meters, where were you and how would you describe that moment and all of the work that you put into it?
Yeah, I was actually in LA and my coach couldn't make it to that competition because he was actually traveling to another international competition. And so my fiance was there. And another coach that I was working with, he was videoing me. He was kind of helping me with my marks. And it was on my 4th jump, I believe. I remember jumping and it was 5.06 meters. And I started screaming because I finally hit over 5 meters. And my coach that I was working with at the time, he was like, is that good? Like, is that okay? And I just told him, that's my A standard. That's a new American record. And so it was it was incredible because it was me believing in myself, and it was like all the hard work was paying off. And it was just after that, I kept improving every single time. Every single competition I was hitting over 5 meters. So it's been really good. I've been staying really consistent, bringing that into Paris. That's really important. And hopefully that I can just continue to do what I've been doing all season.
Who are some of the other women in Paris that are going to be those top competitors in both the 100 meters and the long jump that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, I mean, for my classification group, all the Italians are tremendous athletes. I actually went to Italy and worked with their prosthetists back in November of 2023 because they've just been killing the game. From Team USA, you have incredible athletes like Famita Ayambeku, Beatrice Hatz, and just all my teammates, Jaylene Roberts. The Paralympics is something very special, and I promise you, everyone's saying, the Olympics are over. What are we going to watch now? Tune into the Paralympics August 28th because it's just as exciting. It's just as fun to watch, and it's incredible to see all these amazing athletes competing with a disability, not just at a level of disabled athletes, but at a level with able-bodied as well. So I'm just extremely honored to be a part of it and really excited to get there and to represent Team USA.
No, it's such a great event, and I'm so glad that over the past couple of years it's been getting more of the support than it has in years past, and it's really exciting to see that NBC is doing such a good job putting it on and producing it. So I know I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure a lot of our listeners are looking forward to it as well. Something that's actually interesting. Okay, so you're filming this. If you're watching this and not just listening to it, you're filming this from your car, and you told me that you're actually at your prosthetics office because you needed to do some last minute adjustments before you head off to Paris. And that's something that I, as an able-bodied person, would never have thought of. So I'm curious, what are some of these smaller details that even just go into packing for going to Paris that other more able-bodied people wouldn't think about?
Yeah, I mean, just prosthetics alone. I have a sprinting blade. I have a jumping blade. I have to bring backups for both. I have a lifting leg, a biking leg. So it's definitely very stressful trying to pack it all into a carry-on because you do not want to check these prosthetic legs just in case something gets lost. They're very expensive. But like you said, I'm at my prosthetic office just trying to make last-minute adjustments right now because I need to be making sure that all my screws are tightened, bolts are tightened, everything, because actually one of my teammates showed up to nationals and Paralympic trials and his blade socket snapped in half. And he didn't have a backup blade and he wasn't able to compete. So going to a high competition like this, us as Paralympic athletes, whether we have a prosthetic leg or we're in a wheelchair, we just need to make sure everything is working properly just so that we can be ready to go. Luckily, I have an incredible prosthetic company, Next Step Prosthetics and Bionics here in Manchester. They always do an incredible job, and I rely on them a lot because I honestly just show up without an appointment, and they take me right away because they know this is very important. So there's a lot that goes into it, but we're dealing with, just like an able body will bring all these different types of spikes. We have all these different types of legs.
How long are you going to be in Paris for?
I will be in Paris from August 20th to September 8th, and then I will be flying to Italy for some much needed downtime and vacation with my fiance, which I'm looking forward to. So I'll be gone for about a month.
Okay, that answers my question perfectly because I was curious what you're going to do on your off days when you're in Paris. So obviously you're going to have a great time in Italy, but what are some of those things that you're looking to do in Paris? I know for the past couple of weeks, I've been enjoying seeing what some of the journalists and reporters were doing in their off days. So what are you going to do as an athlete?
Yeah, I just want to go and experience Paris as a whole because, going to Tokyo, we didn't get to leave the Paralympic Village. So me personally, I want to be able to, go out and experience Paris. So go see, the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, just everything. Experience eating all the great food, the great bread. I mean, croissants. Honestly, I'm just going to ask my coach, what can I do? Because, I do get there tomorrow or I leave tomorrow and I'm not competing until September 5th. So I do have some time, but I don't want to be going too crazy just because I'm still in training. So hopefully I can get some things done on my off days.
Okay, 2 more quick questions and then we'll let you go because I know that you're super busy. You need to get to you literally need to get to pay.
Yeah.
2 quick questions. Is there the potential that we could see you competing in any winter Paralympic events? Because I saw that you competed in the World Championships in the snowboard slalom and did quite well. So what could be coming up in the future for you?
Yeah, never say never. Obviously, after Tokyo is when I picked up snowboarding. It was just like the same thing with track and field. I wanted to try a new sport, and I fell in love with snowboarding. My fiance is a great snowboarder, and I was introduced to that whole world and being a part of the winter Paralympic teams, and that was really special. But yeah, I mean, when I did start snowboarding, I wasn't long jumping at the time. I was just doing the 100 meters. So I was thinking that, Paris was going to be it for me, and I was going to retire track and field. But now with the long jump, I want to continue doing LA 2028. So I definitely have to talk to my track coach, see if we can work something out, because obviously I would love to do it. But there are some tremendous athletes in the Winter Paralympics as well. And just getting to experience that just a little bit by going to a World Championships, it was such a great community, and something that I was really honored to be a part of. And so, yeah, never say never. Maybe Milan 2028 or where is it? I think it's in Utah in 32. Did it just get announced? So yeah, never say never. I mean, I got all my snowboarding buddies trying to pull me into the dark side every single time I see them. So maybe I can maybe I can head out to Utah or Colorado and train with them for an entire year, and we'll see where I am then.
That would be so much fun. I am secretly rooting for you to do that because that would be so cool. Before we let you go, I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about your foundation, the Born to Run Foundation, which provides prosthetics to children and young adults who might not otherwise have access to the specialized prosthetics that you need in order to really compete at a high level in sport. So what gave you the idea to start something like that, and what's been the most rewarding part of it for you?
Yeah, I mean, not growing up, sorry. When I lost my leg and getting to learn about all these different specialized prosthetics and how insurance companies will only cover your walking leg because it's very expensive. If you want to go for a run or you want to go to the beach and have a waterproof prosthetic, insurance companies will not pay for it. And all these amputees are expected to either pay for them on your own or reach out to other foundations for help. So I personally had received help from 3 different wonderful foundations. And seeing the work that those foundations do for other amputees really inspired me, and it resonated with me. And it made me realize that this is something I needed to do, especially after returning, playing lacrosse again, and just not letting this one accident define the rest of my life. I just wanted to portray that message out to the world that if I could go through something like this and still live out my dreams, then 100% so can anybody else. And so with the help of my incredible family, I was able to start the Born to Run Foundation, and we've just been able to help incredible people these last few years, and just getting to be a part of it is a full circle moment for me, because I was that one amputee just trying to get one prosthetic leg so that I could live a normal life. And so it's been really amazing to see the whole community kind of come together and all my friends and family get behind it, and willing to, make donations, share and spread the message, because it's just something that a lot of people don't realize, that these are the everyday struggles that amputees have to go through. I've been very grateful and fortunate enough to have the support I do, so I just want to help as many people possible.
No, it's so clear that that foundation has made a huge impact on people's lives, because just yesterday I saw you posted on your Instagram that there was a young boy and it looked like he had just been donated a prosthetic, possibly 2, but just seeing the joy and like happiness on his face as he was kind of learning how to walk with it was so special. And you just realize like the kind of difference that you're making for people. It's really incredible. And like, I'm just so inspired by the fact that you took something that could have, you took something that was definitely traumatic and horrific, and you turned it into something that's been so good for so many people. It's really amazing.
Thank you. I am nothing without, everybody that is a part of the foundation, especially my mother. My mother is the heart and brains of the operation. I'm just the face. So obviously have to give my wonderful mother a shout out, and the entire board and just the entire community that's come behind it, because I'm not doing any of this. It's every single person who has made a donation, who has shared our story and our message to kind of get to where we are right now, because without all of that, none of this would have been possible. We probably wouldn't have been able to get the foundation off the ground. So we are very grateful for everyone who's been willing to help support, and hopefully we can continue to help as many people as we can.
All right, really quick, what are the days and times that you're competing in Paris so we can tune in and watch?
Yeah, so September 5th is the long jump. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and September 7th is the 100-meter at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Tune in, but don't just tune into my events. Tune into the entire Paralympics as a whole on Peacock. I believe they're doing the same thing that they've been doing. Doing in the Olympics with the gold zone and everything. So you can just tune in and watch all these different events and everything. It'll be very special, it'll be very great, and you'll see some tremendous things.
All right, Noelle, thank you so much for joining the show. We will be cheering you on, and we will certainly be tuning in, and good luck in Paris.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, we want to thank Noelle Lambert again for coming on, as she was so busy trying to get ready to head to Paris. But honestly, such an interesting story. And I honestly really enjoyed doing all of the research I did on her beforehand to get prepared for that interview. And we only had 20 minutes with her, but she's done so many interviews. It's worth checking them out. And one podcast that I actually listened to kind of get prepped to do my own interview was an interview that she did with Victoria Garrick on RealPod. Are you familiar with her podcast, AB?
Yes, she's awesome. I started following Victoria, I think, years ago, and she was just making TikToks and Instagram reels, and she is a funny woman.
Yes, and she has an awesome podcast, and Noelle was on that right after her time on Survivor, and that was a really great episode. So definitely check that out if you want to learn more about Noelle. But yeah, such a cool person.
Yeah, I loved your conversation, and I told you off air, but you did an amazing job interviewing her. Every time you kept asking something, I was like, that was a great question. Like, I wouldn't have thought about that. I love that. And Noelle was just, man, her confidence and at the same time, her humility just completely shined through in that interview, which was it was something that I hope that I can replicate in my own life. And to hear her talk about the different legs that she has to have just to go to the Olympics, and for her race, like she needed like 3 backups, right? And then to hear the story about her teammate who didn't have a backup and couldn't compete, like my heart completely broke. At the same time, like she wasn't, that she held herself together. She was like, yep, this is how it is, and was very real about it. So I just thought that's a story, and that's knowledge that people need to hear and people need to know, because it is different, like, than competing as an able-bodied person in the Olympics. There are other things and other stresses that you have to worry about on top of competing at that level, right? So just absolutely crazy, but I just so blown away by how she carries herself, and yeah, definitely someone everyone should know.
Definitely. So everybody definitely needs to tune in. Go to Peacock, go to NBC Sports, wherever these are being broadcasted over the next couple of weeks. I hope that more people tune in to watch the Paralympics, because these athletes really do have some incredible stories. Okay, well, it is time before this episode ends for our win of the week. And some background, AB and I hopped on the phone a couple days ago to kind of brainstorm the episode, and we're trying to come up with some last minute things to talk about, and we're coming up with what our wins of the week are going to be. And I was like, AB, like, have you happened to watch the DCC Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders Netflix series yet? And that happens to be both of our wins of the week this week, so we're going to talk about that for the rest of the show. But seriously, I am obsessed with that documentary. I've been watching the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders when they used to be on CMT for, I don't know, I think they've been on CMT since like 2005 or 2006, the like Making the Team series. And I never actually watched it on CMT. I would just find like YouTube clips and watch them each season. But these women are so powerful. And I remember at the beginning of one of the first episodes, somebody said it where one of the cheerleaders said, wrote it down. We're supposed to look like supermodels, but perform like athletes. And they certainly do. These are some of the most incredible and athletic women that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I love that you said that because, you know, before I had even watched the documentary, I was seeing people post about it on TikTok, on Instagram, on X, everywhere. And everyone was trying to do the Thunderstruck dance. But really, no one could do it. And the funny thing about that is everyone thought, oh, like, I just watched this documentary. I just learned the dance. Like, let me do it. And I'll, you know, whether or not they were a professional dancer and or athletic. And everyone was struggling and saying, this is so hard. I'm out of breath. I can't hit this move the way that they do perfectly and get to this transition so fast. But I think that just shows how hard their job is. And people, all they really see, right, is Sunday, glammed up, smile on their face, not yet sweating, right? And so to see the documentary go full into it, it just shows you, okay, these are real boss ladies. Like, these girls are no joke.
And it's incredible because it's not even their full-time job. Like, they have a full-time job, and then they go there after work, and they dance for 3 hours. And, you know, you said, like, oh, that you've seen TikToks or people trying to replicate the Thunderstruck dance. I don't think it's possible. Like, I don't know many people that can do a jump split. Like, to watch people.
You know what? I will say this. One of my teammates, Peyton Oliver in Boston College Women's Lacrosse, can do a jump split. And so for one of our celebrations, after goals, she would jump up and do a jump split. And I mean,
I'm sure your coach loves that.
But she is the only person that I know that can do that. And so I actually texted her immediately watching the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader documentary. When that came on, I pulled out my phone. I was like, I gotta send this to Peyton. That's a hard skill. But Peyton had been dancing her whole life, right? Like, that's just not something anyone can just pull out. But you're right with the multiple jobs. Like, these girls are hustling. And I think the cool part about that, though, is even though they have to have other careers outside of being an NFL cheerleader, which at the same time you'd be like, whoa, that's crazy. You wouldn't think that initially. They're so happy to do it because it's such a privilege. And I want to pour into that because I do think it's such a gift and a privilege because so many people, they look at the NFL and it's like, wow, like the players are the heroes. And then the women are also kind of in that same realm because they get to be front stage on the field and in those really cool moments. So I believe that for them, and I understand why they say that. But it is crazy to think that, you're doing your 9 to 5 and then you're in the facility practicing till probably, I think they were saying like almost past midnight sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, what I think is so cool about it, too, is it clearly these women have a very strong sense of purpose. And I think working with the team every single day, doing something you love, and going through the same struggles together just brings a group together to a different degree. Like, you were an athlete in college, as was I, and I've never felt like more of a part of something than I was when I was on that team. And I imagine that these women get to feel the same way, and I'm jealous. Like, I wish I had that, feeling too. Like, I wish I could be a part of something like that again, like they are, because it's clearly so special. And you actually got to meet one of the stars of the show, Reese, or you got to talk to her for an interview, right?
I did. And it was the coolest thing ever. I was honestly freaking out when she said yes. I interviewed her for Sports Spectrum on the podcast. It will launch in September. But man, she hopped on and immediately I was like, this woman is exactly what she was on the show. She sounded like a fairy godmother when she came on. Her voice was so sweet. She had the biggest smile and she was just genuinely so happy to be there. And that made me feel so special, just knowing that she genuinely cared. But so cool to have her on and just to hear about her experience and, joining the team right out of school, right out of college. I actually asked her about her wedding. She just recently got married, and she said,
on 420, right?
Yes. And she said, I had some of my BCC girls, and she had some Alabama cheerleaders. And she said, we had a little basket for if you're a Bama girl, like put your palms here. And if you're a DCC, you put your palms here, because they did their dances. They did Thunderstruck at her wedding reception. So I was like,
imagine having to pick a dress that you have to be able to perform Thunderstruck in. Like, it's already stressful enough to pick a dress for a wedding.
I bet you I haven't seen any footage from it yet, but I bet you that she picked like a cool cheerleading slash reception outfit for it. But just so cool to hear that, how special that is for her, right? To want to
Yeah.
do it at her wedding. And she told me that a lot of her friends from home who were at her wedding, they knew that she was a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. They obviously watched the documentary. They've been cheering her on the whole year and the whole season. But actually in person, because, not everyone can go to an NFL game during the season. Like, tickets are expensive. You have to travel there, all the things. And so a lot of her friends said, oh my gosh, like it just now hit me that you actually are a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Seeing in person, you get to do the dance with the pom-poms. Just so cool.
That's so special. I'm so glad that she was kind of the way she was on the show was how she was with you, because sometimes you meet somebody and they're not the same way as they were on a show. But no, she truly, I think Kelly said it best in the show after she met her to because Reese was making a flower arrangement for Dolly Parton, and Kelly goes, wow, she's just so delightful. And that was the perfect word to describe her, is delightful. There are a couple other moments from the show too I just wanted to bring up before we end this episode that meant a lot to me. I think one was the very last episode with Victoria, and I don't know if this stood out to you, but she was trying to decide whether or not she was going to come back for a 5th season, and she said, I've proven myself over and over again. I don't need to prove myself one more time. And I remember listening to that and being like, you know what? Somebody had told me something in the past, you don't need to prove anything to anybody. Sometimes you don't even need to prove something to yourself. You don't need to prove things to people. And hearing her say that was kind of reassuring in a way.
Yeah, I think there is so much that's awesome. And I think there is so much great advice and just life lessons that can be taken from that documentary. I think a lot of people think, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and they probably just think glam and glitz and hair and dancing and Sundays and football. That's probably all they think. But when you actually watch it, you're going to get tidbits of that, right? You're going to get wisdom and just how to take hard coaching. There were times when it was brutal, man. And yes, they might be talking about high kicks and not doing heart surgery, and it's not as serious, right, on that level of a career in the sense of life or death. However, it's hard to get yelled at. It's hard to take hard coaching, and it's hard to, your job's on the line constantly every single day, especially in that training camp atmosphere, like it is, the football players. And so I just think for me watching that, I could relate to it a lot from my college lacrosse experiences. Okay, what are you going to do? What change are you going to make? But I just think for young athletes, maybe even young dancers, watching these women do that on a professional level, and like you said, give yourself grace. Know that you are enough regardless of how you perform.
Yeah. There's one moment that I'll bring up too before I kind of leave this episode, and just to I think parting words, because I do think it really applies to TV. Kelly said at one point, I think you probably remember the Christmas tree scene when one of the dancers forgot to thank the person that set up the Christmas tree and was kind of more busy looking for her ornament. And Kelly said, don't be so caught up in being camera ready that you forget to be thankful for the people around you and be grateful for the fact that you're here. And I sometimes feel like I get caught up in that. Get so tunnel visioned, especially when I'm coming to work or when I'm coming to be on camera, whether it be an opening hit for the Woo Sox or even coming into the studio for this podcast. Sometimes I just get so tunnel visioned and focused on what I'm doing that I just forget to kind of look around and be conscious of the people around me and making sure that I'm smiling at people and being friendly and being the person that I want to be. And I thought that was really such a good reminder for us all. Don't be so caught up in what you're doing and what, your focus is and what your goal is and what your job is that you forget to be nice to the people around you.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think it's hard because you can get, sucked into your career and your job and what's going on and all the things that are spinning through your mind. But it is really important to look up, see the people around you, and notice your surroundings. I had a moment the other day where I had 5 million things going on in my brain. I was trying to grab players for an interview and all the things. And some player walked by me and he's like, girl, you good? Are you good? And I was totally fine. I was totally fine. But my facial expression, my eyes were probably going a million miles. I was probably thinking in my head. I probably had this like intense vibe around me. And I remember feeling so bad about it because I was like, dang, like I just made someone think that I wasn't good, and they had to like check in on me, which is very nice of him. I really appreciated that. But I asked like everyone around me, do I seem like upset? Like what's going on? But it wasn't that. It wasn't that I was upset or that I was sad or that I wasn't good. It's just that I wasn't being aware of my surroundings. And I was doing kind of in that moment, like I was too concerned about what was going on with me and my job and what my responsibilities were, and less of, okay, who are the people around me? Like I can share a smile right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough balance though, right? Because in a sense, you do need to be aware of what you're doing. Like, you do need to think about your job at times. So it's such a tough balance. I mean, for these women, for people that do work on camera, for anybody that's in some sort of like performance job, trying to make sure that like you're focused and you're ready to go when the camera's on, but also staying present when you're off camera. It's so interesting. Okay, so with that, we're out of time. AB, I hope we get you back on the podcast soon because I always love talking with you. I'm sure we could talk about Thunderstruck a million more times. Maybe when you're back, we can give the performance a go.
I was just about to say, that's the one thing you will not see from me. And maybe even Laura, I won't be doing it in person. You know what? I did, and I'm just going to expose myself. I did a cardio dance class last night. Okay. No, sorry. 2 nights ago. I did a cardio dance class 2 nights ago with my friend, and was not doing Dallas Cowboy cheerleader moves in the slightest, or none of those songs. But I was kind of in the back of my mind thinking like, okay, like if I were to do a high kick right now, like, how would it go? And it was super fun. And like, I probably wouldn't do it again, but, yeah, it was humbling to say the least about my dance skills. So I'm cheering those girls on. I so wish I could be them and do what they can do more than honestly anything. But you will not be seeing a Thunderstruck dance from me anytime soon.
Cardio dancing, like truly it's just singing and dancing around in your room is a great workout. So everybody try that. Give that a go. Make sure you tune into the Paralympics this week. Watch the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders documentary if you haven't already. And with that, thank you for watching another episode of Respect Her Game, and we will see you next week.